Hey everybody, welcome to the Sim Hangar. My name's Mark, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the newly released wide FOV lenses for the Pimax Crystal. The lenses that come with the Pimax Crystal are already just about the highest in the industry for a consumer-facing VR headset, boasting 35 pixels per degree. Pimax originally intended to offer an alternative set of lenses at 42 pixels per degree, but subsequently that idea has been scrapped in favor of the wide FOV lenses, which we'll be testing today. Pimax over the years have garnered a reputation for wide FOV, and I can only assume that's the reason and logic for introducing the new lenses. These are an additional purchase. All you'll need is a screwdriver that comes with the Pimax, and the wide FOV lenses come suitably packed. To withstand the rigors of transport, they do feel slightly heavier than the default lenses. Installation and setup is a breeze, and the Pimax Play software automatically detects the wide FOV lenses once they're installed via this assembly on the lens frame itself. Both the default and new lenses are held in place by one screw and 3 magnets. Remove the screw and a slight squeeze and twist, and they come off fairly easily. Fitting the new lenses is just simply a reverse of what we've already done. Seat the lens in place, give it a firm push. Because of its shape, it's a no-brainer which way it fits, and fasten the screw accordingly. My only observation about this is that the magnets in the new lenses are far looser than those in the default and have a tendency to fall out. Caution and keep your eye on them while you're doing it. That's it, both lenses have now been fitted. Replace the face gasket, hook up your Pimax Crystal, and we're ready to give it a try. I mentioned the new lenses are automatically detected, and we can check that here. In Pimax Play, under Devices, select the Advanced tab, and if you've installed it correctly, it should read Big FOV. That's it, we're good to go. I've attempted to record both the old and the new wide FOV lenses in VR in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'm showing the results on screen now. Recording in VR is difficult at the best of times, and what you're seeing should be regarded as indicative only, as my head position in the wide FOV lens test was not the same as with the default. This gives the impression of a much wider FOV by a considerable margin, but regard this example as somewhat exaggerated, as effectively I'm seated slightly further back in the cockpit. So disregarding the visuals here, do the wide FOV lenses actually provide a wider FOV? And the answer is yes they do, but with some compromises. Accurately measuring your field of view is notoriously difficult, but I've attempted to quantify the increase using Infinite's HMD tester. This is a very basic and simplistic test that lets you measure both vertical and horizontal FOV, as well as judge if there's any loss in visual clarity. I also like it because it allows for a fixed head position during the test. Once again, results are purely indicative. Note it's picked it up as a Pimax 8K, so we have to allow for a margin of error, but I recorded a horizontal field of view of 103 degrees and a vertical field of view of 96 degrees for the default lenses that come with the Pimax Crystal. The actual numbers recorded, however, are not really that important. What's more significant is what is the difference between the default and the wide FOV lenses. I think it's worthwhile mentioning at this point that individual results will vary. That's subject to your IPD. Mine is quite narrow at 60, the size and shape of your head, and how you're wearing the actual VR headset itself. The figures I'm showing are my tests. Your mileage may vary. After fitting the wider lenses, I then carried out exactly the same tests, and these were my results. I found that there was an increase in my horizontal field of view, but a reduction in my vertical field of view. A quick side-by-side comparison shows the results, and allowing for a margin of error, I would say that the horizontal field of view increased by something between 9 and 12%, and my vertical field of view reduced by, I would say, 3 to 5%. So an increase of circa 10% in your field of view may not sound like a lot, but it was noticeable once you're in the headset. By looking at the facts and figures is one thing. What were my overall impressions, pros and cons, of using the wide FOV lenses? Having spent what I guess is something approaching 3.5 hours over the last 2 days in the Pimax Crystal with the wide FOV lenses, what are my final thoughts, opinions, suggestions, recommendations? Well, the first one is, if you do get these lenses, I found that the auto IPD didn't quite dial in and give me the best image possible. I had to override it with manual IPD. It wasn't a problem, just a few clicks and I was there, but it's something I thought worth mentioning. The sweet spot is smaller with these lenses, and that meant that to keep my eyes in the same position so that I could get the best visual clarity, I had to have the headset tighter on my head, and I found that somewhat uncomfortable. I wear glasses, and I wear glasses in the Pimax Crystal with the default lenses, no problem, and with these new lenses exactly the same. My glasses don't touch the lenses. It was as comfortable, no different at all. The visual clarity, the color reproduction, and the performance using these lenses compared to the default ones, no difference at all. Now, I know that it's the same number of pixels but spread over a slightly wider field of view, so you're probably not getting 35 pixels per degree. I haven't done the maths, but you're probably getting something in the region of about 30 pixels per degree. You won't notice the difference in the VR headset at all. There was a slight, I wouldn't say distortion, but a graying around the fringes of the FOV. I thought it was distortion initially, but looking at it doesn't look like the image is really distorted, but it seems to be like a loss of color right on the edges. And if you move out of that sweet spot, the chromatic aberration will become very evident very quickly. The wide FOV lenses are certainly more prone to that, in my opinion. The binocular overlap isn't quite as good. Now, I didn't suffer from any eye strain, but the longest single session I did was, I'm going to guess, an hour and a quarter, something like that. I didn't have any eye strain, but a longer session. Would that slight change in binocular overlap have influenced that? I don't know. I didn't find the lenses quite as comfortable as the default lenses, which I personally think are just magnificent and market leading at this time. So, bearing in mind all that I've said, and that this is an additional purchase at something in the region, I believe, of about 160 US, would I go for it? Well, to be honest, no, I wouldn't. I prefer the default lenses. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. I don't see the need personally for these wider FOV lenses. They do the job, but they're not as comfortable, and there's a number of compromises along the way. So for me, it's not a recommendation, but it's also, I'm not saying don't buy them. If you want to give it a go, give it a go. Anyway, that's it. I hope you found it useful and informative. Stay well, look after yourself. See you again soon, and ciao for now.